Pedagogical strategies.
Pedagogical. Oh, wow, yeah. I love that word.
Yeah, that sounds so great. Isn't that just like
How you do something.
how you teach?
Yeah.
Yeah. Teaching strategies. Couldn't they just say that?
Mm-hmm.
What models of teaching and instruction are preferred?
By me?
Yeah.
Models.
You kind of touched on it with like different, like switching it up, making it visual, and then like making sure they take notes, and then.
Yep. I think hand eye listen,
Yeah.
hand eye listen see is a really for if you're looking at broad spectrum coverage.
Right.
Uh, hand eye listen see right is doing something physically, visually, audibly, thought.
Yeah.
My brain's connecting to all of these.
Right.
If I just sit there and lecture and put up PowerPoint slides, there's no there might not even be an audible. It might be just like image. But having all of those means the student has to actively engage. If I have to actually write down those words that he's writing right now on that board, and I'm not just taking a screenshot. I'm physically writing it down. That'll engage you. You have to. Whether you're like, oh my gosh, this is torture because I've been doing this for 20 minutes, whatever. You have to make those words. So I know that people don't like doing that. It's old school.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
So you don't just do that,
but
I try to have something like that. Not always, not every class, but do something like that, and then visual, if possible.
Visual would be like a short clip or even like slides.
Or even a documentary or slides. Slides with questions that I asked in the class. Or debate, right? Over issues that we brought up. Like I could be talking about, again, because we're going through World War II right now. I could talk about the Battle of Britain, RAF, later on, area bombing, Bomber Command, and then, after we've gone through the nuts and the bolts, we can then ask a question. Okay, let's take a look at the morality, the ethical issues surrounding war, which sounds like a misnomer because it's war. There's all these evil acts, but is it acceptable, justifiable to bomb German cities, right? Set them on fire. What are the issues at play here, right? And that is an extension of those facts. Right. Now I have to deal with an ethical issue around those facts.
Right.
Why wouldn't it be acceptable? Or why is it acceptable? What are our standards, and where do we get those standards from? Right. That causes students to go, oh gosh, I don't know, and then kick it around a little bit. Can be a challenge if they don't talk, like one class. But then you put them on the hot seat. Like, okay, everybody out of your desk. We're doing 4 corners. Here's the question. Here's the issues we were talking about. Here's the question or the statement. How much do you agree or disagree with this statement? It was morally justifiable for the Allies to bomb German civilians in cities during World War II. How much do you agree with that, right? So then they go to the corners, and if they're like, mum's the word, well, you're sitting in the completely agree section. So why, Susie, do you completely agree? Now they've got to think, right? And you might say, okay, Susie, think about that. I'm coming back to you. I'm going to the disagree side. So, Max, why do you totally disagree with this? Well, Max, Max will chime in, but you're going back to Susie. And you've told other students, I'm going to be picking people at random. Why you've situated yourself in that corner. So, that's what was the question?
What models of teaching or instruction are preferred by the teacher?
So it's an extension of the nuts and bolts.
Right.
It's not just factoids.
You've introduced, I guess, the topic, and you've laid it out, and you've kind of given the foundation giving them the information, and then you kind of ask questions to engage their thinking.
Yeah.
And provoke discussion.
Provoke discussion, or if we watch a documentary, all of a sudden I'm watching like real people. Oh, that's the person.
Yeah.
They're a real person.
Yeah.
And like this is reality.
Yeah.
This is a good person who goes home at night to their husband.
Yeah.
And has to face whatever, right?
Yeah. Side note, I found a video of the late 1890s, various cities, colorized film footage.
Really?
It was crazy.
Colorized film footage of 1890 cities?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that?
It was on YouTube. But, like, just the colorization does so much for, like, wow, this is, like, real life.
Yeah.
And it looks like real life then.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, whoa, what the frick is going on?
Yeah.
This is, like, over 100... This is a long time ago, and, like, there they are.
Yeah, I thought about that with, like, old documentaries that have been black and white, and then they put a color to, and I'm like, oh, just leave them black and white. But that color does something.
Yeah.
It makes you go, oh, that's like,
yeah.
That's what I see in front of me right now.
Yeah, it's more, it bridges the gap, I guess.
Yeah, identifiable, right? You identify with it.
Yeah. Not to get sidetracked. Whoa. Oh, these are follow-up questions. How are these models of instruction facilitated? I guess you talked about it. Like, yeah, you basically talked about it.
Yeah, you just make it happen.
Yeah. With like, I guess, what is it? Listen, see, touch.
Oh yeah, like hand, eye, hear, like, what do they say?
I don't know what you
I don't know,
said.
it's on the recording.
Yeah.
But like see.
So like for that, would you be like reading out what you're writing on the board while you're asking them to take notes?
Yeah, like here's our heading, number 4, Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
As I'm writing it out.
Yeah.
They might write it out. I might explain based off of that. Okay, so what do you think about that? All right, good. And then the next point.
Right. So mixing it up, even like
while you're doing it, it's not just like the Germans. It was Operation Sea Lion.
Keep writing, everyone.
I'm going to keep writing and just.
Gotcha.
That's boredom.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as if you use PowerPoint, like I use that in history, where photos and points, but I'm explaining the points and we're segueing off of it. I'm asking a question, and off of those points, they're not writing them down. They'll have access on our Schoology program. I'll tell them, these PowerPoints will be up in Schoology. You can always access them again.
Yeah.
But it's supplemented by the nuts and bolts reading package that they have to do, right? Based on the student workbook, and this is the stuff that the test will be on. This is building off of it or highlighting certain things. We're going to segue off of that while we're looking at this, or if I'm writing on the whiteboard, write this, and then I'll explain and ask a question, and then again the next point is Right? So it's not just useless words, filler, make it count. Make it succinct, understandable. There's the point. Got it.
Yeah. And then you ask the question.
And then and then you segue to something else, right? Based off of that, or adding to it, or extending, or continuing, right? So, and that's different because it's for my discipline. It's different if it would be math, right? You come at it differently.
Yeah, totally. The next question is, when are they most effective?
The pedagogies?
Yeah.
Can be. When are they most effective? Yeah, you're going to want to choose that format at a certain point in their learning, right?
Mm.
Do you want to start that way? Sometimes,
Right.
not always.
Oh.
Sometimes
They might not know what they have to say.
Sometimes it might be you might want to probe. What do you know about these things? Rather than like go over like start at a level that they won't understand, or rehash something that they already know. Well, that's boring. So you might want to check with understanding. So rather than dive into a deep, thick lecture with ethical questions with four corners,
right? In the first, yeah.
You could start that way depending on the issue. Like if it's like human rights. Yeah. Well, before you get into the Holocaust, you might actually ask a question that's probing. It's based on an idea, right? But you'll bring up that idea later on once you get into the nuts and bolts. So you can structure it that way, but it'll depend on what you're dealing with, right? So you might just do what do they know so far, and you might create. I don't know if you've heard of the program Kahoot. Oh yeah. Yeah. So you might have a Kahoot where it tests. What do they know? Yeah. What is their opinion on this? Right. And look at the class. 70% of you think that there are essential human rights that are uniform, universal, forever. Right? Yeah. Oh, what are those things, right? Yeah. So there's different ways you can go about it. So it depends on whether you're at the beginning of concepts, the middle of concepts, reviewing concepts. Yeah. What time of day is it? Right. Is this the end of the week? Is this Friday last class? Yeah. And you want to go over this thick stuff? Yeah. Well, sometimes you can. Yeah. Other times you're like, oh man, how about not? Yeah. And so you got to think that through at the beginning of the week. Like, I'm going to be here at that point. Do I want to do that Friday last class? Or do I want to switch to a review and then we'll pick it up at something like that on Monday morning or something? So you got to think that through too. So. Gotcha. Yeah.
Are there practical activities involving students? Yes. You talked about the four corners. Yeah. Or even the game. Is it the review game?
Review game. Sometimes I make them do presentations, even though I know in general they'll be terrible. And I tell them beforehand. I said, "Hey, most of you are going to do." This is not good pedagogy. I tell them most of your presentations are going to be god awful to me. So. But the important thing is, you're trying to make this information engaging to your fellow students, and you're standing in front of them. You've created a presentation. And you're going to deliver it. You are the presentation, not your PowerPoint. Right. And it's that practice that is the value here. Right. Yes, you can get into areas like they're going to be doing this for World War II. So I give them topics that we will not cover. Yeah. But they're super interesting. Yeah. So you're going to choose one of them. You're going to make it interesting for us. We're not going to have talked about these things. The war's just too darn big. We can't do it all. Right. These are some cool, interesting things. You're going to make it engaging. There's all sorts of things you could talk about. You can't. So choose what's engaging to give us a taste of what this is. Yeah. And do it in an engaging way. Yeah. You're going to do it in person in front of us. Yeah. However you want to do that. Choose your format. If you want to make a film, I hope you have the time, but there you go. You can do it, and you can hit play and sit back, and we can be, that was freaking awesome. Yeah. Or, I don't care if you do a sock puppet thing. Those can be super engaging. Yeah. Right? Make it engaging. Help us learn something. And the point is, you're up here in front of us doing this somehow. Yeah. Because you're going to do that in life. Mm-hmm. Or are we going to completely disengage from each other as humans? Right. Because if we're not, somebody's going to be doing this. Mm-hmm. And it'll probably be you at some point. Right. So the more you do it, activity. Yeah. You're going to have to do it. Yeah. I'm getting all psyched about this stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's important.
Are Are there practical? Oh, we already did that. Do activities challenge students? I think you kind of talked about that already. Like you talked about making it engaging.
Yes. But on the other flip side, not everything has to be super challenging.
Right.
You do want some of that, for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, the kid is like, oh, I'm challenged again.
Yeah.
Sometimes the kid just needs to show, I can do this. It's like, I'm just going to show that I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I achieved it. Good. There's value in that too.
Yeah.
Like, if you're learning how to do rope work in mountaineering, do you want to do climbing experiences where everything is a crazy challenge? No. You want to do the routines.
You got to do the fundamentals.
You got to do the fundamentals pretty often, actually, to get really good at it. Because those fundamentals are the most important.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be super challenging every time.
I can see how a presentation would be challenging to students.
Oh, some people are petrified.
Yeah.
Petrified. Getting in front of others, even if it's like a class of 20 of their peers.
Yeah.
They are freaking out about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
But in their future, there's a really strong possibility they're going to have to do that for something that is actually real.
Yeah.
And like matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Do activities target different learning styles?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah. How you try to create options for showing their learning, or even like you just said with
different types of assignments.
Yeah, different types of presentations or something like that.
Yeah.
Different learning styles.
Yeah. Yes. As much as you can.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about doing the like mixing it up and getting visual stuff up there. And field trips too.
Field trips, bringing in artifacts.
Yeah. Documentaries.
Yeah.
And even like what was it? Your touch. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, me neither. I'd like to hear what I said. It sounded really good.
It sounded great. It sounded like something out of a...
No, it just kind of came out. I was like, oh, yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
See...
Listen, see, touch, do? Something like that. I think so. Something like that. Yeah. It sounded freaking awesome.
Yeah, well, whatever it was, use it. Yeah, yes. Do those things. Getting guest speakers in, that can be really valuable.
Yeah.
It's harder in history because we're looking at, most people are dead.
Yeah. Well, and I guess in like English and history, it is primarily reading.
Yeah.
And writing.
Yeah. But geography, like, hey, we're going to go look at these rivers.
Right.
Things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And then extend it, right? That's fun.
Yeah. Is appropriate feedback given to students?
Yes and no.
Like,
sometimes with objective stuff, it's just like right and wrong. I'll go over it in class.
Yeah.
Show them this is why we chose this option, or this is why here's the answer, and they're like, oh yeah, shit.
Yeah.
For essays where you're explaining your ideas, you didn't provide enough evidence or proof of what you're saying, right? Then you get into more detail of, well, think about saying this or bring up this example here.
Right.
So yes, sometimes quite a bit of feedback. Sometimes it's general feedback. I see that most of you are doing this. Here's a problem with that. Other times it's just right and wrong, straight up. Sorry, you didn't get it. I guess maybe you got to study harder, right? So, or pay closer attention in class, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of reasons why a student didn't get it.
Right. Sometimes you just gotta break it to them.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, these are kids. There's hormones flowing around like mad.
Yeah.
Like, it's a wonder that some of those guys sitting next to those girls can even think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and the girls don't get that.
Yeah.
And those girls might be like totally, oh, what did he mean when he said that, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, hello.
Yeah.
And you got 75% of them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Success.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
So, like, sometimes education people just have their head up their ass. They are not in reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, yeah, a lot of this is repeat from, like, my Education 300 courses. A lot of it is repeat from Education 200.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's a lot of theory.
Yes.
And I don't know. I'm going to have to try and connect this back to the text that I've hardly read.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Graham Nichols said the most useless degree is an education degree. But you're not getting that.
No.
You're getting like actual stuff.
Yeah.
Like Julius Caesar, that's a thing, man.
Yeah.
And World War I history, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is like, there's value in it, but then you were trying to create this course and that course and this course, and you're like, oh, what the frick, that's useless.
Yeah.
Right?
Once you get down to the practicality,
sometimes it's just like, the more practical it can be, the better the course.
Yeah.
Right? As far as education goes.
Yeah. How are students assessed?
Oh, there's debate over this.
Really?
Yeah. There's like, people are like, there's no way you can use participation. Like, it can't be based on participation. That's too subjective. And like, oh, whatever. Homework. No, you can't be putting an assignment or value on homework.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's got to be the kids showing you what they've learned. That's it. Assignments, tests, whatever, right? That's what I primarily use, assignments and tests. Like assignments/projects tests. There's been this movement, like with the new curriculum, that you put like percentage values on this curricular competency, like, evidence and interpretation in history, I will make that worth 15% of the mark. And so that I break it down, like everything that has to do with that, oh my gosh, you've just created a ton of work for yourself.
Yeah.
How would you do that in the assignment when you write back to the kid?
Yeah.
Right? So my evaluation is, I think it's very simple. I usually have 4 categories. Science projects that, like for a course like History 12, what do I have? Actually, I only have 3 things. Assignments projects is worth 45%. Tests and quizzes 45%. Participation 10%. That's basically for all my classes. And that participation. So yeah, assignments, like, oh, this is a value. Like, you're doing this. Most of those things you hand in, or I check, or whatever. And I mark it. Sometimes it's just a completion mark where, yeah, you did it. That's great. Right? You read it. You answered it. Fantastic. Right? Full marks. It boosts kids' marks. Others, of course, are more complex assignments, projects. Tests, quizzes, try to have fair tests, not just based on factoids, but like, okay, you understand these things, these are the events.
Right.
Now let's put in some other questions. That's different than a quiz where it just might be, hey, let's review these facts or these issues, these terms, whatever, some basic stuff. But tests, will have like opponents where you actually have to think and grapple, like, oh, so how does it apply here? Oh, here's a good example, right? It makes them make those connections. But yeah, that's how I do it. And then 10% is participation, like, because you'll have some kids who are really engaged, they're just not academically strong. So their assignments, tests, not doing that awesome. but man, are they engaged? They come here every day. They're tracking.
Yeah.
They're trying. That's a way where like, man, you are knocking it out of the park. You're getting 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Well, that actually boosts their mark a little bit, and that's actually good for the kid to see and go, feel good about it.
Yeah.
Like I actually find this course interesting, and so yeah, I do that, and I almost always the participation mark almost always boosts them, unless the kid is like not there,
right,
not engaged, distracting. Well, then I'm going to reflect that in the participation. You're a drain on the learning in this classroom.
Right, yeah.
And it won't just be that. I'll make a comment in the report card and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's that section.